There are only two types of people in this world: those who take responsibility for their results, and those who make excuses for their circumstances. Which one are you? Right now, in this very moment, you are sitting exactly where your past choices have placed you. Your bank account, your relationships, your health, your career, every single aspect of your life is the direct result of decisions you made yesterday, last week, last year. This is not opinion. This is fact. And this fact will either liberate you or terrify you, depending on which type of person you choose to be. Most people spend their entire lives running from this truth. They blame their parents, their education, their boss, the economy, the government, or pure bad luck for where they find themselves. They point fingers in every direction, except the one place where real power lies, back at themselves. But what if I told you that recognizing this truth is the exact moment when everything can change? What if the very thing you've been avoiding is actually the key to your freedom? 3 years ago, I met a man named Robert. He was 42 years old, divorced, living in a one-bedroom apartment, working a job he hated, and barely making ends meet. Every conversation with Robert was the same story. His ex-wife took everything. His boss was impossible. The company was failing, and life had dealt him a terrible hand. Robert had perfected the art of being a victim. But victims, you see, have no power to change anything, because they've placed all the power somewhere else. Then something shifted. Robert was sitting in his car, after another frustrating day at work, staring at an overdue bill notice, when something inside him snapped. Not with anger, but with clarity. He looked at that bill, and instead of thinking, "I can't afford this because of my circumstances," he thought, "I created this situation with my choices, which means I can create a different situation with different choices." That single thought changed everything. Not the circumstances. Those were still the same. The apartment was still cramped, the job still frustrating, the bills still overdue. But Robert changed. In that moment, he stopped being a victim and became the author of his own story. He realized that every single day he was making choices: what to think about, what to focus on, how to spend his time, how to respond to challenges. He had been making these choices unconsciously, automatically, based on old patterns and habits, but now he could make them deliberately. Within 1 week, 7 days, Robert's entire life began shifting, not because his circumstances magically improved, but because he started making different choices. He stopped complaining about his job and started using his lunch breaks to learn new skills. He stopped watching television in the evenings and started reading books about personal finance. He stopped avoiding difficult conversations and started addressing problems directly. He stopped eating fast food and started preparing simple, healthy meals. He stopped hitting the snooze button and started waking up 30 minutes earlier to plan his day. Were these earth-shattering changes? No. Did they require superhuman willpower? Absolutely not. But here's what happened. By the end of that first week, Robert felt different. He had more energy, more confidence, more clarity about what he wanted. People began responding to him differently. His boss noticed his improved attitude. A coworker mentioned a better position opening in another department. He received a call from an old friend about a business opportunity. Suddenly opportunities were appearing everywhere. But here's the crucial point. Those opportunities were always there. Robert's new choices didn't create the opportunities. They created the awareness and readiness to recognize and act on opportunities that his victim mentality had blinded him to seeing. This is the power of personal responsibility. The moment you accept complete responsibility for your life, you reclaim complete power over your life. Every excuse you make is power you give away. Every time you blame external circumstances, you declare yourself powerless to change those circumstances. But when you own your results, both good and bad, you own the ability to create different results. Think about this for a moment. When you blame traffic for making you late, you're saying traffic has more control over your schedule than you do. When you blame your boss for your stress, you're saying your boss has more control over your emotional state than you do. When you blame your past for your present situation, you're saying yesterday has more power than today. Do you see how this gives all your power away? But responsibility is not about blame or guilt. It's about power and possibility. When you take responsibility for being late, you can leave earlier next time. When you take responsibility for your stress, you can change how you respond to pressure. When you take responsibility for your current situation, you can start making different choices to create a different future. The truth is, you are already choosing every moment of every day. You choose what time to wake up, what to eat for breakfast, what to think about during your commute, how to respond when someone cuts you off in traffic, whether to speak up in a meeting or stay silent, what to do with your evening hours. Most people make these choices unconsciously, running on autopilot, following the same patterns they've always followed. But you can choose to choose consciously. This is where the 5 habits come in. These are not complex psychological techniques or mystical practices. They are 5 simple daily choices that, when made consistently for just 1 week, will prove to you beyond any doubt that you have far more control over your life than you ever imagined. The first habit is morning mental programming. Instead of grabbing your phone and immediately filling your mind with news, notifications, and other people's agendas, you spend the first 30 minutes of each day deliberately programming your mind for success. You review your goals, you visualize achieving them, and you affirm the person you're becoming. This sets the mental tone for your entire day. The second habit is evening reflection and planning. Before going to sleep, you spend 15 minutes reviewing your day and planning tomorrow. You ask yourself 3 simple questions. What went well today? What could I improve tomorrow? What's my number 1 priority for tomorrow? This creates a continuous cycle of learning and improvement. The third habit is conscious choice awareness. Throughout your day, you practice pausing before reacting to any situation and asking yourself, what choice serves my goals? Instead of automatically responding based on emotion or old patterns, you choose your response deliberately. This builds mental discipline and self-control. The fourth habit is energy management. You make conscious decisions about everything that affects your energy: the food you eat, the exercise you get, the people you spend time with, the content you consume. You ask yourself, does this increase my energy or drain it? And make choices accordingly. The fifth habit is growth-focused action. Every single day, you take at least one action that moves you toward your goals. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be forward. This builds momentum and confidence while ensuring consistent progress. Now, you might be thinking, these seem too simple to create dramatic change. That's exactly why they work. Complex systems fail. Simple systems, applied consistently, create extraordinary results. The power is not in the sophistication of the habits, but in the consistency of their application. Let me ask you directly, and I want you to answer honestly, even if only to yourself. Right now, at this moment, what story are you telling yourself about why your life is the way it is? Are you the hero of that story, actively shaping your destiny through conscious choices? Or are you the victim, at the mercy of forces beyond your control? If you could prove to yourself that changing just 5 daily habits could transform your life in 1 week, would you be willing to try? Are you ready to stop waiting for conditions to be perfect and start creating the conditions you want? The question is not whether these habits will work, the question is whether you will work them. Your current life is the sum total of all your past choices. Your future life will be the sum total of all the choices you make from this moment forward. You cannot change what happened yesterday, but you have absolute control over what happens today, and today's choices will determine tomorrow's results. This brings us to a fundamental truth about how success actually works. Most people have this backwards. They think success comes from external circumstances, the right opportunities, the right connections, the right timing. But success actually comes from internal development. When you change the inside, the outside changes automatically. When you develop yourself, you create the capacity to recognize and capitalize on opportunities that were invisible to your previous level of awareness. Here's exactly how this works. Think of a farmer who plants seeds in the spring. Does he stand in his field every day demanding that the seeds grow faster? Does he blame the weather, the soil, or the seeds themselves when he doesn't see immediate results? Of course not. He understands that there's a natural process at work. He plants the right seeds, waters them consistently, removes the weeds, and trusts the process. He knows that his harvest is determined not by external conditions, but by the quality of his daily actions during the growing season. Your life operates exactly the same way. Every thought you think, every action you take, every choice you make, is a seed you're planting in the garden of your future. Most people plant weeds, negative thoughts, poor habits, destructive behaviors, and then wonder why their life doesn't bloom with the flowers they desire. They're harvesting exactly what they planted, but they're looking everywhere except at their own planting patterns for the cause of their results. But here's what the farmer knows that most people don't. The harvest is always greater than the seed. One apple seed doesn't produce one apple. It produces an entire tree that can yield hundreds of apples for decades. One positive habit doesn't create one positive result. It creates a pattern of thinking and acting that generates countless positive outcomes throughout your life. This is why focusing on changing external circumstances is like trying to change your reflection by manipulating the mirror. It's backwards. If you want a different reflection, you must become different. If you want different results, you must develop different patterns. If you want a different harvest, you must plant different seeds. The challenge is that most people quit planting before harvest time.
They make positive changes for a few days or weeks, don't see dramatic results, and conclude that it's not working. But growth follows natural laws, just like farming. There's always a period between planting and harvesting. The mistake is assuming that nothing is happening during this period. When you plant a seed in the ground, you can't see anything happening for weeks, but underground, that seed is developing roots, drawing nutrients from the soil, building the foundation for everything that will eventually appear above ground. The stronger the root system, the stronger the tree. The deeper the roots, the more fruit it will bear. Your daily habits are building your root system. The stronger your habits, the stronger your results will be when they finally appear. This is the compound effect in action. Small improvements, made consistently over time, create extraordinary results. Most people dramatically underestimate what they can achieve in 5 years and dramatically overestimate what they can achieve in 5 weeks. They want microwave results from crockpot processes. Consider this. If you improve by just 1% every day for 1 year, you don't end up 1% better. You end up 37 times better. 1% daily improvement compounds to 3,678% improvement over 12 months. But if you decline by just 1% daily, you end up with nearly nothing. This is why small daily actions are so powerful. They seem insignificant in the moment, but they create massive leverage over time. Let me show you how this works in practical terms. Reading 10 pages of a good book daily seems like nothing. It's maybe 20 minutes of your time, but 10 pages daily becomes 3,650 pages per year, roughly 12 full books. 12 books will give you more knowledge in your field than 90% of people have. That knowledge will create opportunities, insights, and capabilities that didn't exist before.
Exercising for 20 minutes daily seems almost pointless when you're out of shape. But 20 minutes daily becomes 120 hours per year of physical activity. That's 3 full work weeks dedicated to your health. Your energy levels, confidence, mental clarity, and physical capability will transform completely. Saving $5 daily seems insignificant when you're struggling financially. But $5 daily becomes $1,825 to over 10 years, and with compound interest, over $50,000 in 20 years. More importantly, you develop the habit of living below your means and thinking long-term, which creates wealth far beyond the money itself. The problem is that none of these results are visible on day 1, day 7, or even day 30. The changes are happening, but they're happening below the surface, building the foundation for what's coming. Most people quit during this invisible period because they judge the process by immediate results rather than trusting the principles. But there's something even more powerful at work here. Life operates in patterns, and when you understand these patterns, you gain the ability to predict and prepare for what's coming next. Every successful person learns to recognize these patterns and position themselves accordingly. Think about the seasons. Spring is for planting, summer is for growing, fall is for harvesting, and winter is for rest and planning. Nature doesn't try to harvest in spring or plant in winter. Each season has its purpose, and fighting against the natural timing creates frustration and failure. Your life has seasons too. Sometimes you're in a planting season, learning new skills, building relationships, laying foundations. These periods can feel slow and unrewarding because you're investing without seeing immediate returns. But this is the most important season because it determines everything that follows. Sometimes you're in a growing season. Things are developing, progress is being made, but the full results aren't visible yet. This is when most people get impatient and quit. They want to harvest before the fruit is ripe. Sometimes you're in a harvest season. Opportunities are abundant, results are flowing, everything seems to work. This is when you reap the rewards of all your previous planting and growing. But harvest seasons don't last forever, and wise people use harvest time to plant seeds for the next cycle. Sometimes you're in a winter season. Things seem slow, opportunities are scarce, progress feels stalled. This isn't a punishment or a sign that you're failing. It's a natural part of the cycle, a time for rest, reflection, learning, and preparing for the next planting season. The key to success is recognizing which season you're in and working with the season rather than against it. Most people make the mistake of trying to force harvest during planting season or giving up during winter season. But when you understand the patterns, you can prepare for what's coming and position yourself to take advantage of each phase. Here's another pattern that governs success. Difficulties and opportunities cycle through your life in predictable ways. Challenges are not random events designed to punish you. They're preparation for the next level of success. Every challenge you face is developing skills, strength, or wisdom you'll need for the opportunities that are coming. Think about this. A weightlifter doesn't avoid heavy weights because they're difficult. He seeks them out because he knows that resistance creates strength. The muscle grows during the recovery period, after being challenged, not during the comfortable periods between workouts. Your life works the same way. The challenges are the weights that build your capacity for greater success. Most people see challenges as problems to be avoided, rather than training to be embraced. They pray for easier lives instead of greater strength. But easier lives don't create stronger people. Stronger people create easier lives. When you develop the capacity to handle bigger challenges, life becomes easier, not because the challenges disappear, but because you become more capable of handling them. The opportunities follow the same pattern. They appear when you're prepared for them, not when you want them. Preparation happens during quiet periods, challenge periods, learning periods. Then when the opportunity appears, you're ready to recognize it and act on it quickly. Robert's story illustrates this perfectly. The business opportunity didn't appear because his circumstances improved. It appeared because his preparation improved. The skills he developed during his winter season positioned him to recognize and capitalize on the opportunity when it arrived. So how do you recognize where you are in these cycles? How do you know whether you're in a planting season or a harvest season? How do you tell the difference between a temporary setback and a signal to change direction? Start by asking yourself these questions honestly. What is this current situation teaching me? Every circumstance, whether pleasant or difficult, contains lessons. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this preparing me for? This shifts your focus from victim mode to student mode. How is this challenge building my capacity? What skills am I developing? What strength am I gaining? What wisdom am I acquiring? Challenges that don't kill you don't just make you stronger. They make you more capable of handling bigger opportunities when they arrive. What opportunity might be hidden in this situation? Sometimes the greatest opportunities come disguised as problems. The job loss that forces you to start your own business. The health scare that motivates you to transform your lifestyle. The relationship ending that opens space for the right person to enter your life. Where should I be focusing my energy right now? If you're in a planting season, focus on learning and preparation. If you're in a growing season, focus on consistency and patience. If you're in a harvest season, focus on maximizing results and planting seeds for the next cycle. If you're in a winter season, focus on rest, reflection, and planning. The 5 habits I mentioned work because they align with these natural patterns. They help you plant the right seeds daily, water them consistently, and prepare for whatever season is coming next. But before we can implement these habits effectively, we need to address the internal obstacles that prevent most people from following through on their good intentions. Because knowing what to do is not the same as doing what you know, and there are specific mental patterns that sabotage success before it can take root. These mental patterns have names, and once you recognize them, they lose their power over you. The first pattern is excuse-making. The second is procrastination. The third is blame. These 3 behaviors are the assassins of success, and they work together to keep you exactly where you are, no matter how much you want to change. Excuse-making sounds like this: I don't have time. I'm not ready yet. It's too risky right now. I need more information first. This won't work for someone like me. Every excuse feels reasonable when you're making it. That's what makes excuses so dangerous. They sound logical even when they're keeping you stuck. But here's what excuse-making really is. It's trading what you want most for what you want right now. You want success, but you also want comfort. You want change, but you also want to avoid risk. You want growth, but you also want to stay in familiar territory. Excuse-making allows you to avoid the discomfort of action, while maintaining the illusion that you still want the results. The person who says, I don't have time, somehow finds time to watch television, scroll through their phone, or complain about their situation. The person who says, I'm not ready, has been getting ready for months or years without ever starting. The person who says it's too risky is ignoring the much greater risk of staying exactly where they are. Procrastination works hand in hand with excuse-making, but it's more subtle. Procrastination convinces you that there's a perfect time to start, and that time is always later. Tomorrow you'll be more motivated. Next week you'll have more time. Next month your situation will be clearer. Next year the conditions will be better. But perfect conditions never come. There will always be reasons to wait. There will always be other priorities, other obstacles, other uncertainties. Procrastination is not about poor time management. It's about avoiding the discomfort of taking action when the outcome is uncertain. The procrastinator often stays busy with low-impact activities to avoid the high-impact activities that actually matter. They organize their desk instead of making the important phone call. They research and plan endlessly instead of starting with what they already know. They wait for inspiration instead of taking action to create momentum. Blame completes this destructive triangle. When excuse-making and procrastination prevent you from getting results,
Blame explains why it's not your fault. The economy is bad. Your boss is unreasonable. Your family doesn't support you. The market is saturated. Other people have advantages you don't have. Blame feels good temporarily because it removes responsibility, but it also removes power. When you blame external factors for your results, you give those factors control over your future results. You become a passenger in your own life, waiting for external conditions to change before your life can improve. These three patterns, excuses, procrastination, and blame, create a downward spiral. Poor results lead to more excuses, which lead to more procrastination, which leads to more reasons to blame external factors, which leads to even poorer results. The cycle feeds on itself and becomes stronger over time, but successful people have broken this cycle by developing completely different mental patterns. Instead of making excuses, they make decisions. Instead of procrastinating, they take immediate action with imperfect information. Instead of blaming circumstances, they change their approach until they get better results. The difference between a successful mindset and a mediocre mindset is not talent, education, or luck. It's this: successful people focus on what they can control and take responsibility for their results. Mediocre people focus on what they can't control and blame external factors for their results. Which brings us to the 5 habits that changed Robert's life in 1 week. These habits work because they systematically replace the patterns of excuse-making, procrastination, and blame with patterns of decision-making, action-taking, and responsibility-accepting. The first habit is morning mental programming. For the first 30 minutes of every day, before you check messages, before you consume any outside information, before you react to anything external, you deliberately program your mind for success. You review your goals, not as wishes but as certainties. You visualize yourself achieving them, not as fantasy, but as mental rehearsal. You affirm the person you're becoming, not with empty positive thinking, but with deliberate identity reinforcement. This works because it gives you control over the first input your mind receives each day. Instead of starting reactive, you start proactive. Instead of beginning with other people's agendas, you begin with your own. Instead of starting with problems, you start with possibilities. This sets the mental tone for every decision you make throughout the day. Most people wake up and immediately grab their phone, filling their mind with news, notifications, and other people's priorities. They start their day reactive, and they stay reactive all day long. But when you control the first 30 minutes, you control the mental framework through which you'll interpret everything that follows. The second habit is evening reflection and planning. Before you go to sleep, you spend 15 minutes reviewing your day and planning tomorrow. You ask 3 simple questions. What went well today? What could I improve tomorrow? What's my number 1 priority for tomorrow? This creates a continuous improvement loop. Every day becomes a learning laboratory. Mistakes become data points rather than failures. Progress becomes visible because you're tracking it deliberately. And you go to sleep with clarity about tomorrow's most important action, which means you wake up with direction rather than confusion. The third habit is conscious choice awareness. Throughout your day, you practice pausing before reacting to any situation and asking yourself one question: what choice serves my goals? Instead of responding automatically based on emotion, habit, or impulse, you choose your response deliberately. This single question transforms you from a reactive person into a responsive person. Someone cuts you off in traffic. What choice serves your goals? Your boss criticizes your work. What choice serves your goals? You feel like eating junk food. What choice serves your goals? You want to skip your workout. What choice serves your goals? This habit builds mental discipline faster than anything else because you practice it dozens of times every day. Each conscious choice strengthens your ability to make the next conscious choice. Over time, this develops into unshakable self-control. The fourth habit is energy management. You make conscious decisions about everything that affects your energy levels: the food you eat, the exercise you get, the people you spend time with, the content you consume, the environments you place yourself in. Before making any choice, you ask, will this increase my energy or drain it? Energy is the fuel for everything else. Without energy, you can't think clearly, act decisively, or persist through challenges. Most people manage their time but ignore their energy, then wonder why they feel exhausted even when they're not particularly busy. But when you manage your energy deliberately, you have the fuel needed to make all the other habits sustainable. The fifth habit is growth-focused action. Every single day, you take at least one action that moves you toward your goals. It doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be forward movement. This could be making one important phone call, reading 10 pages of a relevant book, exercising for 20 minutes, or saving $5. This habit builds momentum and confidence simultaneously. Momentum because each action makes the next action easier. Confidence because you prove to yourself daily that you're someone who follows through on commitments. Over time, this creates an unstoppable forward motion in your life. Now, how do you implement all 5 habits starting today? The key is to start small and focus on consistency rather than intensity. For the first week, spend just 15 minutes on morning programming, 10 minutes on evening reflection, and practice conscious choice awareness 3 times per day. Choose one simple energy-boosting action and one small growth-focused action daily. The goal is not perfection, it's establishment. You're creating new neural pathways, and like any path, they get stronger with use. After 1 week of consistent practice, these habits will feel more natural. After 2 weeks, they'll feel automatic. After 30 days, they'll be part of who you are. But what if you miss a day? Start again immediately. Don't wait for Monday or next month. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is not that successful people never fall, it's that they get back up immediately, instead of staying down. What if you don't see dramatic results in the first week? Trust the process. Remember the farmer and the seasons. The changes are happening below the surface, building the foundation for what's coming. Your job is to plant the seeds consistently and let the natural laws of growth do their work. The choice is yours, and it's available to you right now. You can continue with the mental patterns that brought you to where you are today, excuse making, procrastination, and blame. Or you can adopt the mental patterns that will take you where you want to go, decision making, action taking, and responsibility accepting. 20 years from now you will be somewhere. The question is not whether you'll be 20 years older, you will be. The question is whether you'll be 20 years better. That depends entirely on the choices you make starting today. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. Your future self is counting on the choices your present self makes today. Which version of yourself will you choose to become?
After 6 months, Michael had read 12 business books. After 1 year, 24 books. After 2 years, 48 books. The knowledge he gained from those books led to innovations in his department. The innovations led to recognition from senior management. The recognition led to a promotion and a 50% salary increase. His co-workers were still relaxing in their mornings and wondering why Michael kept advancing while they stayed in the same positions. 1 chapter, 15 minutes, 2 years, life transformation. This is the power of designing your days instead of drifting through them. Most people let their days happen to them. They react to whatever demands attention. They respond to whoever speaks loudest. They allow circumstances to dictate their schedules. Then they wonder why their lives feel out of control and their goals remain unreached. The person who forces themselves to be the best day after day takes control of their mornings. The morning hours are yours. Before the world wakes up with its demands, its emergencies, its distractions, you have a window of pure opportunity. What you do with this window determines the trajectory of your entire day. Your morning routine is your daily declaration of who you're becoming. It's your daily investment in the person you want to be. It's your daily choice between drift and design, between reaction and creation, between the person you were yesterday and the person you could become today. The most successful people in every field have morning routines that include 4 essential elements: physical preparation, mental preparation, emotional preparation, and spiritual preparation. Each element serves a specific purpose in building the foundation for an extraordinary day. Physical preparation builds your energy and your discipline simultaneously. When you move your body first thing in the morning, you're telling yourself that you're someone who takes action. You're creating momentum that carries through the rest of your day. You're building physical stamina that supports mental stamina. You're developing the habit of doing what you said you would do, even when it's uncomfortable. This doesn't require a gym membership or elaborate equipment. 30 minutes of movement, push-ups, sit-ups, stretching, walking, or any physical activity that elevates your heart rate and awakens your body. The specific activity matters less than the consistency of the activity. The goal is not to become an athlete overnight. The goal is to become someone who honors their commitments to themselves. Mental preparation expands your knowledge and your perspective. 20 minutes of reading material that challenges your thinking, teaches you new skills, or exposes you to ideas beyond your current experience. Books, articles, or educational content that moves you closer to your goals and further from your limitations. The person who reads 20 minutes each morning consumes roughly 100 books per year. 100 books per year creates expertise in any field within 3 years. 100 books per year separates you from 99% of the population in terms of knowledge and insight. 100 books per year provides ideas, strategies, and solutions that transform ordinary thinking into extraordinary results. Emotional preparation processes your experiences and clarifies your intentions. 10 minutes of reflection on the previous day's lessons and the current day's priorities. What worked well yesterday? What could have been better? What did you learn about yourself, others, or your situation? What are your 3 most important objectives for today? How do you want to show up in your interactions with others? This reflection time prevents you from repeating yesterday's mistakes and helps you build on yesterday's successes. It also ensures that your day has direction rather than just activity. Many people stay busy without being productive. They confuse motion with progress. Reflection time helps you distinguish between the two. Spiritual preparation centers your mind and connects you to something larger than your immediate concerns. 15 minutes of meditation, prayer, gratitude practice, or quiet contemplation. This isn't about religion. This is about creating mental stillness in a world of constant noise. This is about remembering what truly matters before you get caught up in what seems urgent. During this time, you might reflect on what you're grateful for, consider how you can serve others, or simply sit in silence and allow your mind to settle. The specific practice matters less than the consistent practice. The goal is to begin your day from a place of peace and purpose, rather than anxiety and reaction. These 4 elements, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual preparation, create a foundation that makes everything else in your day more effective. When your body is energized, your mind is sharp, your emotions are balanced, and your spirit is centered, you're equipped to handle whatever challenges and opportunities your day presents. But here's what you must understand. Starting these practices is easy. Maintaining them is where most people fail. The first week feels exciting. The second week feels routine. The third week feels optional. The fourth week becomes a test of your character. This is where the choice you made at the beginning of this conversation becomes critical. Remember, you decided to listen to this message because some part of you wants something more than what you currently have. Some part of you knows you're capable of better results, better relationships, better contributions to the world. That part of you must become stronger than the part that wants to stay comfortable. When your alarm goes off tomorrow morning, you'll have a choice. You can hit the snooze button and remain who you've always been, or you can get up and begin becoming who you want to be. When you don't feel like exercising, you can skip it and prove to yourself that your commitments are optional, or you can do it anyway and prove to yourself that you're someone who keeps their word. The person you become is determined by the choices you make when you don't feel like making them. Anyone can exercise when they're motivated. Anyone can read when they're inspired. Anyone can reflect when they're calm. Anyone can meditate when they're peaceful. The person who forces themselves to be the best day after day does these things especially when they don't feel like it. Start with one area. Pick the most important aspect of your life that needs improvement. Is it your health, your career, your relationships, your finances, your personal growth? Choose one area and commit to one daily action that will move you forward in that area. Make the action specific and measurable. Instead of "I'll exercise more," commit to "I'll walk for 30 minutes every morning at 6 a.m. Instead of "I'll read more," commit to "I'll read one chapter of a business book every evening at 8 p.m. Instead of "I'll be more organized," commit to "I'll plan tomorrow's priorities every night before bed." Remove the barriers that could prevent consistency. If you're going to exercise in the morning, lay out your clothes the night before. If you're going to read in the evening, put the book where you'll see it. If you're going to plan each night, set a reminder on your phone. Make it easier to follow through than to make excuses. Create accountability that ensures you'll follow through. Tell someone about your commitment and ask them to check on your progress weekly. Better yet, find someone who will commit to the same practice and check on each other daily. Create consequences for breaking your commitment and rewards for maintaining it. Track your progress visually. Mark an X on a calendar for each day you complete your chosen action. The visual representation of your consistency becomes a powerful motivator to maintain your streak. You'll be amazed how much you hate breaking a chain of X's once you've built momentum. When obstacles arise, and they will arise, don't abandon your practice, adapt it. If you can't do 30 minutes, do 15. If you can't read a full chapter, read a few pages. If you can't complete your full routine, do a shortened version. The goal is consistency, not perfection. It's better to do something small every day than something large occasionally. The person who commits to one small daily discipline and maintains it for 90 days will transform their confidence, their capabilities, and their results. The person who maintains it for 1 year will transform their life. The person who maintains it for 5 years will become unrecognizable compared to who they were when they started. But it all begins with tomorrow morning. It begins with the choice you make when your alarm goes off. It begins with honoring the commitment you make to yourself today. It begins with proving to yourself that you're someone who does what they say they'll do. The choice you made when you decided to listen to this message was the first step. You chose to invest your time in learning how to improve your life instead of just entertaining yourself. That choice revealed something important about who you're becoming. Now you must make the next choice, and the next choice, and the next choice, until choosing excellence becomes as automatic as breathing. Your 1,440 minutes tomorrow are waiting for your decision. Will you use them to build something remarkable, or will you let them slip away like the 1,440 minutes you've wasted before? Will you force yourself to be the best, or will you force yourself to remain the same? The person you want to become is waiting for you to show up tomorrow morning in 1,440 minutes, starting with the first choice you make when you open your eyes.